It's all over, guys. It's all over. In just a matter of hours, we are going to find out who is going to be the next president of the United States. And I am not choosing or picking anyone because this is the type of race that you never know what's going to happen. So I'm not going to put my foot on the line and say it's going to be this person or that person. I think we're all going to have to wait and see. And some of you are Trump supporters, and some of you prefer Kamala, and that's your choice. Um, but it's all over. We're down right down to the wire now. Um, I'm going to get on to some more gossipy things before I start telling you about the fun I had this weekend putting up my Christmas decorations early. I did it early, yes, last year as well, because I saw other people putting up their decorations, and I got inspired. But I'm going to mention some things about a person called Eddy. And I am so glad that I made the decision. I was going to do live streams at one point, but after what happened with AD and BAM, I decided that maybe live streaming wasn't a good idea for me because I had thought about doing it, but I'm so glad that I didn't go there. And I'm so glad that I've been relatively successful in keeping my identity relatively private. I don't put my full name out there. I don't put my date of birth and stuff like that. Sometimes when I sign up to different sites, I actually Google AdSense is the only people that know my real name, my full name, and my date of birth. They're the only people. I've never told anybody like online that I come across those details. So Google AdSense knows they have my passport. They have a replica of my passport. They know who I am. Like if I go to various sites and I'm asked to sign this, sign that, I'll put different dates. I'll put different dates because I don't want anyone to know who I am, you know. And I'm saying this because there's something that Eddie mentioned the other day, and I see also what's happening to certain people online. Like, for example, Scott, battery exhausted. I went to a channel and his full name and address was put on that channel. I was going to print screen I was going to print screen that and send it to him, but I realized there was no point because he's going to see it himself. I mean, he knows that this channel posts things about him. His full name and address was on the channel, and I made a very conscious decision. Some people know my first name, and that's enough. That's enough. They don't need to know anything else. I made a conscious decision from very early on that I was going to protect my identity. And if anyone ever found out who I was, that's okay as well because I have got nothing to hide. I have no record. I've lived a clean life. I really haven't done anything that you would say, "Oh my God, she's done this." No, I've lived a clean life, but I just don't want anyone to know who I am until they have to, or unless they have to. Um, but I'll talk about that later. I'm just going to talk about the fun that I had doing my Christmas decorations this year. Um, on the right, you see this is my idea for a table setting, and Thanksgiving is coming up, and I do celebrate Thanksgiving. I put the tree up, and all my life I've lived in places that have had fireplaces. But when I was growing up in Buckinghamshire, I remember one morning my mum went downstairs and she found a bird flying around in the living room. When she checked it out, she later found out that the bird had gotten into the house through the fireplace. So even though I love fireplaces and I love to see fireplaces decorated over the holiday, I'm kind of a bit spooked by fireplaces because of what happened in Buckinghamshire when I was growing up. So we bought something to emulate a fireplace with the same kind of, it gives the same kind of atmosphere and vibe. And it's so pretty. When you turn the lights off at night, when the Christmas lights are on and the candles are lit, it really lights up and gives the room a very cozy feel. We had to buy some more lights for the Christmas tree. So got some more lights for the Christmas tree and put them on, and the Christmas tree looked so much better with the extra lights. And I like warm lights. I had a lot of fun decorating. Some people think, why are you putting up decorations in early November? but a lot of people were started to put up their decorations in late October. Um, and I got really inspired. I got really inspired because I actually felt quite sad when I had to take my Christmas tree down last year. I just love the holidays now. I live for autumn and winter, and I just love Christmas movies, even though most Christmas movies have a baseless storyline, are really rubbish. But I just love to look at the decor of the living rooms, Christmas trees, Christmas lights. I just love that feeling. I just love, I wish we would get some snow. That's what I would really love. I would really love for it to snow, but it's highly unlikely that's going to happen. Highly unlikely it's going to happen this year. But I had a lot of fun decorating, and it looks so beautiful. As a matter of fact, the pictures don't even do it justice. It looks really beautiful, and I really love this table setting that I did. The table's not going to be like that until Thanksgiving or Christmas, but this is just like a table setting idea. And I really love that the Christmas tree is right next to the TV, because then the focus is on the Christmas tree, and the Buddha is right there as well. I never forget my Buddha. It was very uncomfortable for me to see Scott's full name and address put out there. Um, and not just because it was Scott, because it was just, it's just so easy to get those things. Even when I type in my full name, and I have several names, um, because I have got my first, and then there's other names, and then there's my last name. But even when I type that into Google, when I search that, nothing about me comes up. Basically, nothing about me comes up. It actually, there's another person with my exact name who lives in another country, and she comes up instead of me. So that makes me feel some kind of protection. But when I'm loosely signing up on various sites, with the exception of YouTube have my real identity. They've got my passport. They know who I am. But if I'm going to, other sites, or there's times when I've just put various different birth dates on other sites, just so people don't know exactly um, who I am. I might put my real first name, but just to protect my identity, I will just choose anything that comes up. I've even put 1950. I wasn't even, I don't even think my parents were even born in the 50s. so, so I've put 1950 as a birth date. I don't even think my parents were born then. I've put all sorts of stuff to protect my identity, because, we're living in a world where, I'm actually quite surprised, because my American family, I can find details about them just by knowing, because I've got lots of relatives in America. Most of my relatives live in America, not Jamaica, not England, but in America. Got a few who live in Canada as well. And I can, if I forget my cousin's address, all I have to do is type in her name, and her full address will come up. So, I'm very protective of my identity. And the reason why I'm saying this is because a guy called Eddy, who is a nemesis of Scott's, was saying some things. And I'm not going to give him any promotion or anything like that. Scott will not want me to give him any promotion, but he was saying a few things about Scott and me. Not particularly nice things. And I think Eddie's never forgiven me for saying that I like Scott's songs. He's never forgiven me for that. I'm sorry, Eddie. I like some of your songs as well, Eddie, and I said that. But I don't think Eddie has ever forgiven me for saying that I like Scott's songs the most. He's never forgiven me for that. But that's just my preference. It doesn't mean that I have anything against you, Eddie. He said a few things about me, but based upon what I see happening with Scott, and some people might think he deserves it. I'm not saying what you should think, but because Scott is such a live streamer and he's online all the time, I think whether he probably unintentionally invites this type of thing. Not him himself. I'm not saying he invites it, but because he's such a visual person, he's live, he's online, he's in front of you, he's coming on camera. Because Eddie was saying, I don't do that. No, I don't. But because Scott puts himself out there so much, it leaves him vulnerable to all that's happening. Like I said, his address being put out there, people finding out about him, people knowing about him. And I'm glad that I protect my identity a little bit more. It probably doesn't benefit me in every single way. Um, and I have thought about doing little TikToky short videos of me dancing and stuff like that. But I don't feel like I need to prove myself, and I don't feel like I need to do that. I know who I am. My family knows who I am. Um, you know, I know who I am, so I don't feel like I have to prove myself to anybody. But I think because God is so visual, he's in your face, he live streams so much, it invites that kind of attention. And you know it's almost like everything about him has been dug up. Things that I wasn't ready to probably hear or know about him has been dug up. It's just unbelievable. A lot of the things I know about him or have heard about him are actually through other people. And that's because the information online and the information about him is so accessible, partly because he really does put himself out there. I use a lot more restraint. I use a little bit more restraint when it comes to, putting myself out there. Although some people think that I do put myself out there a lot. I don't put myself out there nearly as much as Scott. I protect my identity quite a bit, and I feel I feel better doing so. If I could do YouTube all again, I would be anonymous. Like I said, I ran into some trouble with a sub of mine who is still pursuing me. Um, I wouldn't even. I would do what Plunder did when she started. Plunder's best years on her channel was when she was completely anonymous. No one knew her name, no one knew what she looked like, and that's exactly what I would do if I could do YouTube all over again. I wouldn't even put pictures up of myself. But YouTube like to see that you're a real person, so I would probably still use my profile picture, and have my picture on my header, but I probably would just leave it at that and nothing else. But can't go back now, can't change things. People might know what I look like, but they don't have to know everything about me. um what else? I cannot tell you how delighted I am with how my Christmas decorations have turned out. And for anyone who's about to do any decorations, I would suggest not even going to the store to buy anything new. Most of the direct decorations that I used are things that I already had. um and I just took them out again. My tree is actually pretty useless, but it still looks good. You can make a pretty. I'm not going to have this tree for next year. You can make a pretty useless tree look really good. I mean, it does have the height, and it does have the. It's really green and it has that authentic factor, but it's not the best tree. But it still looks nice. It looks nice in the house. The house looks really pretty, really beautiful. I know of somebody who lives in Oregon, and so they live near a lot of woodland, and she gets most of her Christmas decor, like the greenery, from the woods. She walks out into the woods, she goes there, and she gets her Christmas decorations, and the rest she probably gets from IKEA. So you don't have to spend a lot of money on decorations. I've spent zero money on any decorations. Just use what I already had. I think the most I've spent on is candles and matches. I go through a ridiculous amount of candles per week and matches. I always have to top up on matches. I always have to top up on candles because I love candles, so I use a lot. It's ridiculous how many candles I use. But for anyone who's decorating, some candles, some flowers, a few, some greenery, maybe a wreath, nice color scheme. That's all you need. You don't need to go overboard. You don't need to go overboard. Some bells and whistles, and you're set. I wasn't planning on being on here for a long time. I just wanted to share, my thoughts with you on the current situation. We're heading into the holidays, and people are still going at each other. I think there is a time to say, look, let's forget about our grievances and let's just get on with having a bit of fun. There's so much, you said this to me, and I'm going to say this to you, and you did this to me, so I'm going to do this back to you. There's so much of that going on YouTube, and it's just a waste of time. What do we all want in life? We all want to be happy. We want to um, get married, have kids, and when we're married and have kids, have good marriages, raise our kids the best way we can, teach them the best way we can, send them to good schools, give them opportunities, give them good health care. We want to have nice houses. You know, we want to be happy. That's the meaning of life. This back and forth and holding on to grievances, I don't think it's healthy, and I don't think it's a good thing. I've seen what that did to one person on YouTube, and it wasn't a very good ending for her. So I try to stay away from that kind of negativity. Um, so that's what I wanted to say, guys. I'm very happy with how my decorations turned out. I'm very much looking forward to the election night. And I still kept my Buddha. I have my Buddha usually next to my TV, and I've replaced the Buddha. And I'm just looking forward to it. Well, I'm nervous as well, to be honest with you. I'm very nervous about the election. But, I just want to be happy.